Hey everyone, hope everyone is doing well. So in this video here, I am going to explain, well, try my best to explain Kinich's kit, if I pronounced his name correct as well. But just know that some of his kit has to do with the mechanics of natlan. So I won't really get too much into it. You know, the live stream is on Friday. That's 2 days from now. I could always make an update of this. Now, before I start this, just remember, any of these things that I talk about, especially the values, and I don't really get too much into the values, it could be changed before release. So this is the best way that I could explain it, and I'll try my best to see if I could get like little different animations to show on screen, because I cannot show any of his gameplay. So let's get into it. First of all, he's a Dendro Claymore unit. I ain't gonna talk about his normal attacks and stuff. The butter of his kit really comes from the elemental skill and his elemental burst. So let me start off with the elemental skill. Alright, so when you use his elemental skill, when there are no enemies nearby, he launches a grappling hook which grapples onto the air. But it's not actually the air, it's something called phlogiston. Just know that I might be pronouncing these words wrong. That's something to do with the mechanic of natlan, right? So when you do the skill, when there's no enemies, he will grapple onto the air, and the skill is reduced by 60%. That's the cooldown. Now the skill itself has a cooldown of 18 seconds. Just know that this could be a different value, but since there's no enemies nearby and you use the skill, it will be reduced by 60%, which will bring it down to around 10.8 seconds, if my maths is correct. These values may be different, again, on launch, so just use it as a reference. If you use his skill when there's an enemy nearby, he will hook onto them and enter into a state called Night Soul Blessing. This state lasts for 10 seconds. Again, this could change, and it generates 2 Night Soul points every second. Now, Night Soul points has a big part in his kit. When Kinich hooks onto the enemy, he will perform a set of variable attacks. Now, if you want to know how these attack looks like, it's like, just imagine you're like Eren Yeager, or let's say Levi from Attack on Titan, and you hook onto the enemy and you start shooting Mario fireballs at the enemies. It's like that, but more Dendro. When attacking enemies using normal attack in this state, he fires the attacks that I talked about, like the fireball, and they call it loop shots, while swinging around as well. So he doesn't just stay in one spot, he's constantly moving around the enemy in this way. And this deals Night Soul aligned Dendro damage, and it generates 3 Night Soul points. Although you're using your normal attack while swinging around and hitting the enemies, it's still considered elemental skill damage. Now, when you get max stacks of the Night Soul points, you can use the elemental skill again to launch an attack called Scale Spiker Cannon. So you latch onto the enemy, you Levi them, you Eren Yeager them, you start doing the Mario fireballs at them, and then you start generating Night Soul points. Now, once you get max stacks of this points, you can hit the elemental skill again, and then he will do another attack which is called Scale Spiker Cannon. Just remember that, because this plays a part in one of his passives. Now, this attack, the Scale Spiker Cannon, this attack consumes all the Night Soul points to deal Night Soul aligned Dendro damage. If you hold your elemental skill, when you have max points, he can also aim his shot. So I guess like you won't be restricted to just hitting that enemy. You could start aiming whichever direction. I haven't seen the animation enough to know how exactly it works, but from what I could read here, that's what it's trying to say, right? So when you're in this Night Soul Blessing and you get all the Night Soul points and you launch the Scale Spiker attack, he also creates something called a blind spot. Now, when this blind spot disappears, he gains 4 Night Soul points. If the grapple unhooks from the enemy due to moving around or out of range of the enemy, he will generate another grapple by doing a normal attack. And that's his elemental skill. I know it's a lot. And I'll try my best to give a little TLDR at the end of the video. Hopefully my old self remembers to do that. So let's talk about his elemental burst now. This is like another state that he enters. Basically, it's an AoE Dendro attack. Whenever you do attacks like normal attacks, the little dragon animation thing, you know, the little funny thing that's always with him, that thing he has, it strikes from the above onto the enemies. This state lasts for 15 seconds and it could be used during the grappling state in his elemental skill, which is pretty cool. Okay, you see I don't start to sweat already, bro. This place is hot. Passive 1. When he uses his elemental skill on Natlan's mechanics, he will consume points to perform another swing in the air. I won't get too much into this passive because it's to do with maneuvering around Natlan using its mechanic, and we won't know much until we see the live stream, right? And that's Friday. Passive number 2, when you're in the Night Soul Blessing state, that's the elemental state when you grab onto the enemy. When you hit enemies with the elemental skill, they will go into a state called Desolation. When they are affected by burning or bursion, they will restore 7 Night Soul points to Kinich every 0.8 seconds. So this is another way that he generates Night Soul points. And passive number 3, when nearby teammates triggers a Night Soul burst, Kinich will gain 1 stack of Hunter's experience lasting 15 seconds with a max of 2 stacks. When Kinich uses his elemental skill, Scale Spiker Cannon, that's the one when you grapple onto the enemy and you generate a ton of the points and you hit the elemental skill again and he does that attack, he will consume all the Hunter's experience stacks, increasing his damage of the Scale Spiker Cannon shot by 320% of Kinich's attack. And that's his kit. So let me just settle down a little bit. Let me try to cool down because wow, this kit is hot, bro. It's hot. And let me see if I could do a little TLDR. All right, so let me see if I could do this TLDR. Starting off with his elemental skill. When you're in Natlan and you do an elemental skill and you work around Natlan's mechanic, that's called the Phlogiston. He will fly up into the air, he will swing onto the air. His elemental skill is also reduced by 60%, and it seems like he might be able to use it twice. Now, when there are enemies, he goes into a state and he generates Night Soul points. He starts doing the Fireball Mario attacks onto them. They also go into a state when you grapple onto them, and they help him generate Night Soul points as well. And once you get max Night Soul points, he could do another elemental skill and do a bigger attack. And that's how his elemental skill attacks work. Just like a little breakdown. His elemental burst, basically the little animation thing. That thing will strike from above and he will go into that state for 15 seconds. And every time he attacks the enemies, that thing will be hitting from above, doing AoE Dendro damage onto the enemy, even in his elemental skill state. Now, it's just to know something, right? It looks like Kinich will be a bursion / burning unit. He will be one of the first kind, well, the second, because that's how Emily works. So I guess Emily will be a great unit to work with. Kinich, also Zhanglin, Bennett, you could do Sword Kazuha. That's, if I was to go for him, that's a team that I would run, right? So it not looking like you're going to be using him in any kind of Aggravate or Hyper Bloom type teams, because you need to remember that once you latch onto the enemy and you start attacking them, that is considered elemental skill damage. So it will not trigger Sensho's sword and it will not trigger Yelan's burst as well. I think, I am not sure. We have to wait until the unit is out. And well, yeah, that's basically Kinich's kit. Hopefully I wasn't Hopefully it wasn't too consuming, bro, and hopefully I get some animations for you guys to look at so you could kind of understand what I'm talking about. And that's the best way and the easiest way that I could break down Kinich's kit. So let me know your thoughts down below. Are you pulling for Kinich? To be honest, just from looking at this kit and the little animation that I saw of his gameplay, he looks like a really fun character. I would say he looks really fun. So let me know your thoughts down below. Are you pulling for him or are you skipping for the Shock girl? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Hit a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Wow. God gave me a retry, I pass it on to my left. Cause knowing that you'll never be mine is worse than being an ex. And now my soul is cursed with lies, and I've been burning, sinking in there. I mix melatonin with cough syrup to get closer to my death, and I'm tired.